We started this whole thing off talking about why people keep bees and why sometimes people have problems with bees, and on a national basis that a very high percentage of new beekeepers will not make it through the first 2 years. Now that you got a little education under your belt here, let's talk about that whole issue of how do you beat the odds and where can you get help and what resources are available in just a little more detail. I'm going to run through this fairly rapidly. A lot of this stuff is available on our website, or you can send an email through our website, or you can contact me directly. Again, like this whole school, we're just trying to hit the high points. We don't want you drowning in details. But all right, here are some of the points that we'd make. We talked about one of the most important things you can do is be ready to rock and roll in the spring. Go ahead and see our friends that are here that are the suppliers of the packages and nukes, and make contact with them and see about getting your bees ordered. When you get your hives, you're going to have to do some things with them. You're going to have to paint the outside, not the inside, the outside of your hive equipment with a good exterior primer paint and with a good exterior paint. That kind of thing takes time. You're going to need to think ahead. Just putting your package into 1 or 2 boxes is not going to be sufficient, as our speakers have pointed out here multiple times. You need to have frames and extra boxes ready to go. Many folks, and myself included, actually buy the prefabricated components for the hive boxes and the frames, put them together themselves, and install the foundation. And you can save a fair amount of money that way, but it's fairly labor intensive. So if you want to do that, start plenty far enough ahead of time. Also keep in mind that by the end of your first year, you may have 4 or 5 boxes on top of each hive. And if you start off with 2, that's not enough. And as Joel said earlier, by the time you realize that you need more, it's almost too late to get it together. And be prepared to handle things like swarms and splits. Those do come along. So include that in your thinking as far as preparation for the spring. Do your homework, please, please, please. As you probably should have picked up on by now, beekeeping is both a science and an art. There is no cookbook with instructions where you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you do all those things in order, everything's cool. There's a lot of decisions and judgment making. There's different ways of doing the same thing. It's much like today's operating of a computer. There's like 18 different ways to get to the same end point. So you need to have both what I would call book learning and the experience of other people to be able to deal with that whole idea of beekeeping being both a science and an art. Your Beekeeping in Tennessee book that you have is probably the most compact and most efficient and most reliable source of information as a starter. But keep in mind, if you join our association, and you have joined our association by coming to this seminar, you get a one-year membership. We do have a lending library with high-quality beekeeping books that you're welcome to check out and read. You don't have to go out and spend a bundle of money on Amazon to get good quality information. There is reliable information available on the internet through places like the University of Tennessee Agricultural Extension website. We are filming all of the lessons that you've seen here today, and they will be on the website in our virtual beekeeping school. So if you didn't quite grasp 100% of things that were said here today, you'll be able to go to the website and review any particular lesson at your leisure. Right now, what is on that virtual beekeeping school is the film of last year's school. I would encourage you also to get subscribe to a good quality beekeeping magazine. Bee Culture is probably the best. Most of the leading experts tend to be involved with bee culture. I disagree with some of the things that articles that are in there from time to time, but in terms of reliability and quality of resources and learning, Bee Culture is a wonderful, wonderful magazine. So read, study, and train. Make sure you have what you need. Think it through, double think it. Think about the things that have been talked about here today. Think about what kind of equipment you want. Make your decisions on whether on an 8-frame versus 10-frame, whether you want your hives to be all mediums, or whether you, like I do, use deeps for your brood area and shallows for your honey supers. But you've got to make those kind of decisions, and you've got to get this stuff ordered. Most everything is readily available, with sometimes the exception of the bees. So make sure you plan ahead on that. Trevor's handing out a list of his products. If you want to buy local quality equipment, it's certainly available through him. Catalogs, you can also get catalogs from a number of the major beekeeping suppliers in addition to Trevor's stuff. Having catalogs and doing a little bit of thinking helps you beat the odds. Mentoring, we have a huge range of mentoring programs, and these will be started up in the early spring and run through the late summer. The most popular of which is what we call our neighborhood mentoring program. We will have experienced volunteers throughout the greater Nashville area. I think we had 14 of them last year, spread geographically around the area, who are willing to take beginners under their wing and have them come out and participate in maintaining the mentors' hives. Most of these folks, Joel White as an example, that was one of our speakers, is one of those, and Joel sets aside a specific time and a specific day of the week every year, and you contact him on, if it's Wednesday at 1 o'clock, or if it's Saturday at 3 p.m. or whatever, you contact him directly and you work that out, and you get a chance to have a little hands-on experience. The other thing is that we do have hives that we maintain in addition to the ones on the roof in this building. One of those apiaries is over at the headquarters of the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. We maintain the hives there. That's the Ellington Agricultural Center. We started a new program this year during the main beekeeping season, where the second Tuesday of every month at 5:30, we had multiple experienced beekeepers out there and would actually go through the hives, and you're welcome to participate, put your veil on, watch up close and personal what's being done, and obviously that varies from month to month, the kind of activities. So we have the Ellington Agricultural Center. Additionally, we on social media have our own what is called a listserv, which beginners can go on to that and can ask questions, and that information will be received by hopefully by experienced beekeepers, and it's a way of sharing information both with other beginners and to get your questions answered. That listserv, if you want to sign up for it, it's totally free. It focuses just on our members, is NashvilleBee@YahooGroups.com. NashvilleBee@YahooGroups.com. All right, so there's no shortage of mentoring, and that's to say nothing of the fact of coming to meetings and networking with the experienced beekeepers, and we always have that senior citizen back row that Joel was talking about. Talking about you, Harris, and Leonard. All right, go to bee schools like this one and seminars. We will have what's called an advanced seminar on January 20th that is for people with a little bit of experience, but total beginners are also welcome. That's a good time to go. We have Jim Tew and Clarence Collison, who are two of this country's, not Tennessee's or Nashville's, this country's leading experts who will be there to give topics with more specifics on a little more advanced things like making splits and more detailed management. So that's January 20th. Again, all this stuff is posted on the website. For those of you that want to try to assemble your own woodenware, frames, foundation, high bodies, bottom boards, inner covers, outer covers, very readily done, and you can save a lot of money. We will have a woodworking seminar on Saturday, February 16th to teach people about even if you're buying fully assembled equipment, there's a right way and a wrong way to put primer and paint on your hives. And I've also mentioned the virtual bee school. So all those things are absolutely possibilities. Please try to attend our meetings. It's unbelievable, the speakers that we've got coming up. Actually, next month, Clarence Collison is going to be here. He's a monthly columnist for a bee culture magazine, probably, if not certainly one of the leading science experts in the area of bees and bee behavior and bee management. A special treat in December, we have the head beekeeper for the Kentucky state government, Tammy Horn, will be here. She's a marvelous, absolutely marvelous speaker. Family history of beekeeping goes way back. She's written several absolutely wonderful books, and she'll be here to give us a talk focused on the history of beekeeping in America, of which she wrote a book, and she will also be available for book signings. After the first of the year, Mike Studer, the head beekeeper for the state of Tennessee, will be here, and former presidents of the statewide Tennessee Beekeeper Association's presidents, Jim Garrison and Charlie Parton, will be our speakers. We will have Jerry Hayes, who's the former head of beekeeping for the state of Florida, and if you talk about a state that has a lot of beekeeping going on in it, Florida is it, and Jerry will be able to talk about that stuff. All right, please, and I strongly encourage you, old wives' tales do not make good science and good beekeeping. First question you should always ask is, what is the reliability of the source? With the internet, there's some good stuff on there, but Dr. John Skinner, who's the head bee scientist for the state of Tennessee, told me one time that he thought more than 90% of the beekeeping information that was on the internet was total garbage. So be careful where you get your information. Because beekeeping is an art and a science, you'll get a lot of different opinions, but you get some pretty far out opinions being expressed too, and try to stay focused on experienced and reliable sources. And we try to monitor the books that we keep in our association libraries and our speakers to help with that. Get out and volunteer. One great way to network with our members is to volunteer. We have a booth at the Tennessee State Fair for 10 days that we staff all day long. The big Nashville Lawn and Garden Show in the spring, we have a big display there. We do a huge event for kids over at the Adventure Science Center here in town. We have many programs in schools. In fact, we probably get 5 times the number of requests for presentations in schools, and we're able to manage The Department of Agriculture puts on a thing called the Music and Molasses Festival each fall. We participate in that. That's huge. We also maintain a number of showcase hives around the area, including the ones on the roof here, ones over near the Parthenon in Centennial Park, across the street from Vanderbilt. And I mentioned the one, the apiary over at the Ellington Agricultural Center. Do be persistent and committed. You're going to run into some frustrations, some problems, and failure is all about it. But if you stay committed and you are astute and observant and you ask a lot of questions and do a lot of close observation, your chances of success and of doing well go way up. Don't be afraid to fail. You will have failures. I mean, we got people like Kent and some of these other folks that have been keeping bees for 30 and 40 years, and they still have their failures. But they work their way through them and try to learn from them. And as was pointed out earlier, I don't care what kind of system, whether you're using duct tape on the inside of your inner cover, or like myself, keep an actual composition journal book. Every time I do something with my hives, there's a note that goes in that journal, and you'd be surprised how many times I'll go back and say, when did I put that super on? How long have they been drawing it out? This colony really is doing terrible. What was the first indication I had that it was having problems, so on and so forth. So do keep good records. And we talked about internet and reliable information. We'll try to steer you in the right direction. We're certainly open to opinions and different ways of doing the same thing, but we want to kind of keep you steered away from some of the strange beekeeping things that you will hear. You can do this. All it takes is some dedication on your part, your willingness to learn. If you're expecting to be totally spoon-fed and nursed along by somebody with minimal effort on your part, that ain't gonna work. What you need commitment and work on your part, plus you need the help of others. It is an art and a science, and mentoring isn't as important as sitting down late at night and working your way through a beekeeping book. Do stay committed, and if you do, your tenacity will be, I think, rewarded. And there's my favorite slide. I love my little happy bee. All right, we've got a huge treat for you after the door prizes. I think Michael's going to do door prizes here, and some wonderful door prizes. We will take the group here up onto the 4th floor here at the Music City Center. Our head beekeeper from our association, Kathleen Bitter, accompanied by a couple of the employees here at the Music City Center who we've helped to learn about beekeeping, will be up there, and they will actually be doing a hive inspection. You won't have to actually go out on the roof because we have a huge viewing window directly adjacent to the hive, so you'll be able to stay inside and watch what's going on out there. They will have a TV camera with a feed into a large plasma TV that you'll also be able to watch, and I think we're set up to actually have a commentary from Kathleen. So, okay, how about some door prizes?